To help him solve mysteries in a racist town? Like, what's the meme? The Arctic Circle. For all my conspiracy theorists out there, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, go find out. Right here, it is so amazing. It's called God is a Black Woman. I recommend that book 1,000 times over. It is what kick-started my spiritual journey. Come on, a secret society? What are they, in the Illuminati? Like, girl, tell me, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, before we even get into all of that, do you know who you're talking with right now? I mean, come on. It's me, Kayytheorginall.
Every second, every minute, man, I swear that she can get it.
What's up, everybody? It's been a minute since, it's not even been a minute. First off, let's even back all of that up. I told y'all that I was coming with content. It's just been a little delay, but it's coming. And y'all already know, is it really Kayytheorginall's channel without a TBR? I mean, it's fall, it's October. I gotta get in with, number one, what I'm currently reading, and two, what's on my TBR list. Now, we got a lot of books to talk about, and most of these books have been on my previous TBR, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about them. If you want to know more about them, I will link those down below, but a lot of these just got, you know, put down. I just didn't read them, didn't pick them up, so we really gonna try to pick these up this time around, especially because it's some really good books on here. Alright, y'all, so for the first category, we have my non-fiction category. You always have to have at least some non-fiction in your reading. You don't want to just spend all of your time in non-fiction. Always read something that's going to help you grow as a person, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you know, all of that good stuff. This first book is Transforming Body and Soul by Stephen A. Gallipew. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name or not, but yeah. Essentially, I'm on my spiritual journey, and this is just about the healing stories in the Bible and the ways in which Jesus performed his miracles and how those miracles can relate and help us in the real world. This second book is called Good Morning Monster by Kayytheorginall. This is just her, she's a therapist first, and this is her recollection of 5 of her patients who had very emotionally triggering traumas and how they dealt with them, and it's about the road of emotional recovery and healing yourself through different emotional traumas that you've been through, you know? It's about growth and recovery, and with me being a psych major, I like to read books by other psychologists just to, I feel like psych majors give the best insight into how ways to grow and things like that. So that's my ramble. Now, last but especially not least is Black Women Will Save the World, an Anthem by Miss April Ryan. Y'all already know I talked about this on my very first TBR, and I never got the chance to read it because I read another book, and I will put it right here. It is so amazing. It's called God is a Black Woman. I recommend that book 1,000 times over. It is what kick-started my spiritual journey. I'm not even gonna get into it, but we are gonna read this by Miss April Ryan. This is her on the Black, I love a Black woman from infinity to infinity, period. So my next category, I would consider this light mysteries, you know, not dealing with too serious of topics, but definitely still a mysterious aspect. A lot of things, a lot of different components. It's fall time. You gotta have your mysteries in there, of course. So I got 4 really good light mysteries, and we will start with Deva Shatiri's Last Day by Kayytheorginall. Please excuse me, I'm not very good with other ethnic names that aren't black, just because, you know, that's not my dialect. So I don't try to mispronounce names. I try the best to my abilities. But this is by an Indian writer, I do believe, and this is basically about a story about a very high-end A-list socialite who announces her death before she actually dies to see how the public will react. And she is shocked to find out that the public has so many negative things to say about her. And she invites all of her children to a private island to prepare them for her death. I feel like this is going to be a very interesting read, especially because everyone wants to know what people will say about you after you die. And she got to experience it before her death. Next up, we have The Sacrifice by Ren Chupicho. This is about an island that no one is supposed to travel to. If you travel to this island, it is said that you would never return. Well, a TV show crew decided to go see for themselves, and they hire a native local as a tour guide. And let's just say things go horribly wrong for them during this exhibition. Next up, we have After the Flood by Cassandra Montag. Now, I got this book as like a blind date with a book. If y'all don't know what that is, please go check out my TikTok. I do a lot of blind dates with a book where you just have a basic description about a covered book, so you cannot see the cover, you cannot see anything. It's completely wrapped up, and all you have is a very basic, minor description of this book. Essentially, this book is about a mother and a daughter who go on a crazy adventure. I don't know if crazy is the right word. Dangerous and alluring adventure to find her oldest daughter, who she thought died in a flood, and she has to take a trip to the Arctic Circle. For all my conspiracy theorists out there, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, go find out. I'm not even gonna get too much into that book just because, like I said, I got it as a blind date, so I don't really know a lot about it, but I'm very excited for it just because the conspiracy theorist in me needs to find out what this book has to say about the Arctic Circle, and needs to find out, how did her eldest daughter even get there? How did she get there? I need to know. Last but not least, for this category, we have 10 After Closing by Jessica Bliss. This is about a high school student who works at a restaurant, and 10 minutes after the store closes, they get robbed. They get robbed. He has to survive a robbery. It's him, his manager, his girlfriend, all of them are trapped in the store while it is getting robbed. I don't know about y'all, but I used to work at a place where I was a closing manager, and that was my greatest fear, that I was going to be alone in the store and that I was going to get robbed. So I really want to see the perspective of this book and what happens. I don't know that much about it. I like to go into books not knowing much about them. It's a current theme of mine. But I'm excited to read this. Like I said, it's really a book about one of my greatest fears, so might as well try to overcome it through fantasy. For this next set of mystery, this is what I call more of my hardcore mysteries, or my more triggering mysteries per se, just because it deals with a little bit of heavier topics. The first being The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is about a group of college friends who go on a winter retreat, and slowly, one by one, they start dying. It's a murder mystery. Solve the murder mystery. Can you figure out the killer? I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I read the first like 2 chapters of this book and it was really good. Don't get me wrong, it was really good. It was really intriguing, but it's just like you're kind of like thrown into the story and I just wasn't prepared for that. I like to be prepared for reading certain things, so I'm gonna, now that I know that about this book, I'm definitely eager to pick it back up because it's fast-paced and people start dying quickly. Next up we have Bluebird and Heaven My Home by Miss Attica Locke. She is another black author. I try to read as many black authors as I can because once again, I love a black woman from infinity to infinity. And you know, you just have to support your fellow black people and your fellow black authors, especially because they don't get as much recognition. And let me tell you something, Miss Attica Locke, she's that girl. She is that girl. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I started reading Bluebird, and as y'all can see, it's already like annotated and things like that. Like these are my little annotations when I read a book. And this was such an interesting take. It follows, both books follow a sheriff deputy. They're let me make sure this one. They both follow black Texas Rangers and them solving crimes as well as dealing their own personal life. This one follows the death of, I think the death of like a little white girl in a very racist town, and after the white girl is found dead, multiple black people are found dead, and so it's just kind of like, is it racism or is it racism? I don't know, but I like this book a lot, especially because you don't really hear a lot about, you know, like mysteries told through like a police perspective, if you get what I'm saying. So I feel like it's a really interesting take to not only be like a Texas Ranger dealing with his own troubles, but now you have to help him solve mysteries in a racist town. Like, what's the meme? And then My Heaven My Home isn't really a sequel. They're both kind of standalones, but they both deal with the same aspect, so they kind of put together in the same category of books. And this one follows another Texas Ranger, but he has to help find a kidnapped little boy. I don't know much about this one. I didn't end up picking this one up, but I trust Miss Attica Locke because the few pages that I did read in this one, she did her thing. So I know she did her thing in this one as well. Alright y'all, so now we have the series. is quite a few series that I plan on reading this fall. But I'm not even gonna lie, I'm major excited. And I love series because once I fall in love with a book, I need a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4 and so on and so on and so on and so forth. Because once I love the book and I love the writing style and I love the characters, I just need more and more and more and more. So first off, we're gonna start with The Similars and then its sequel, The Pretenders by Miss Rebecca Hanover. And all I'm gonna say is, imagine you went to a prestigious elite boarding school only for the smartest of the smartest and the wealthiest of the wealthiest. And when you're starting your senior year, a group of students come, and not any group of students, but clones. Clones that have magical powers, and suddenly people start showing up dead. Dark Academia me, please. Like, what do you mean? Where did the clones come from? Why are there clones of students? And why are people dying? And why do they have powers? Come on. Especially considering the fact one of the clones is of your own dead best friend. And then there's a sequel. You sold me. She sold me right there, Miss Rebecca Hanover. You sold me right there. Next up we have the one and the only A Court of Thorns and Roses by Miss Sarah J. Maas. Now, don't even get me started. I have heard so much about this book on Book Talk that it's just like, I don't even know the storyline, but every single Book Talk is, you have to read this, you have to read this, you have to read this, you have to read this. And there's some spicy content in here. I don't mind if I do. And they say Miss Sarah J. Maas is the queen of fantasy. And I'm trying to really get deep into my fantasy bag, like getting developed in different worlds and things like that. I know that this follows like the fairy world and things of that, and it's a prince and who child, don't even get me started. But this is just book one. I really
A few moments later.
really hope I like this book, because I don't know, like, number one, it's so pretty, and the other books come in even prettier colors. It's like this one, I think the next one is purple, and then it's like a turquoise one, and I just think that they will look really cute together on my bookshelf. So I really just hope I like this book for the aesthetic. I'm not even gonna lie, but if it is a good book, I will let y'all know. Now, the next series that we have is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I did kind of mess up and I got the second book first. Good thing though that I did not read it. I will be ordering the first book. So that way I don't read this one. This one is Good Girl's Bad Blood. I think the first one, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, follows like a high school girl and one of her friends die, and she goes about trying to solve the mystery and things like that. Once again, another good dark academia. I love reading dark academia during fall. I'm not gonna spill too many beans about this book, like I said, only because this is the second book in the series and I need to purchase the first. Next up we have The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall. Now this follows a young girl who finds out her family is a part of a secret society, and then uncovering what that secret society is and what they do. And people want her dead. People are trying to kill her because of her family in this secret society. I've had this book on my TBR for so long and I've just never got a chance to read it, so I'm really hoping I pick this book up this season and dive into it, because it is a 3-part series and I just really want to dive into it. Come on, a secret society? What are they, in the Illuminati? Like, girl, tell me what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, just fill me in, let me know. I'm a girl who loves the tea, and that's why I love to read, because books give me the tea. Like, let me know, I need to know. Next up we have The Diabolic by S.J. Kinsid. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This is a dystopian thriller. I'ma just leave it like that. It's a dystopian thriller. The top of the book says to be deceived or to be destroyed. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, I did pick up this book only because it had a butterfly on it, but once I realized that it was a dystopian thriller, I just had to know more. And for those of you who don't know what dystopian is, I'll just give y'all some hints, like Hunger Games, Divergent, those are all dystopian worlds. So I want to see what this dystopian world is talking about. Continuing with my fantasy theme, we had to get into the more supernatural way of things, because come on, it's October, Halloween's around the corner. Supernatural me, please. Like, I don't like real thrillers, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't want like horror books, just because reading that makes me a tiny bit uncomfortable. But I do want to try to read at least one horror, like one real horror book this fall season. So if you guys have any suggestions about a true horror, please drop it down below. I would love to give it a try. I may even make it the book club book of the month. But before we even talk about my book club, let's finish the rest of these books. First things first is The Power by Naomi Alderman. Now this is what I'm currently reading, and it is also a show on Amazon Prime, so if you're not really into books, or if you want to see what this book is about, I really recommend that show. I watched the show first before I even found out that it was a book, so now I'm reading the book to figure out, like, give me the rest of the juicy details, because you know books are always better than shows and movies, because that's where you get the real tea, and shows and movies are just a condensed version of the book. So this essentially follows women, and not even women, specifically teenage girls, get the power of electricity running through their bodies. They are able to shoot out electricity through their hands, and only women are able to have this power. Men do not have this power. As a woman, you can transfer the power from another woman to another woman. It is so amazing because women have now developed this power in order to protect themselves in the society that we live in. Like, I feel like it's a really interesting take on the ways in which women feel unprotected in today's world, so far that they had to evolve and create a superpower just to protect themselves. Like, and who wouldn't want to have a power, like a women exclusive power? I can shoot electricity through my hand. Who needs a taser when I'm the taser? Come on. Now these next two I consider fall classics. Fall classics for sure. Fall classics for sure. This is A Southerner's Guide to Slay a Vampire by Grady Hendrix. I don't know anything about this book at all. I hope it's actually about vampires. So I just read a tiny bit about the description. It basically follows a woman who is losing herself in her life, and she feels like she doesn't have an identity. She joins a book club, a true crime book club at that, and it just so happens to be a crime that happens in their town, and these women take it amongst themselves to solve that crime. Now, I don't know if it's vampires in this book or not, but I really hope it is, or else the title is really misleading. But nonetheless, I've heard great things about this book, and I can't wait to give it a try. Next up, we have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Now, I did end up reading a couple of these chapters, and then I put the book down. I think I only got like 5 chapters in. I just ended up putting the book down and never picking it back up, only because I was kind of going through a reading slump last fall. So I'm willing to give this book another try because it was really good. It follows a girl who gets a letter from her distant cousin who ends up living in a mansion, and basically the letter is saying, please come save me, this mansion is haunted, people are trying to kill me. She ends up going out to the mansion, finding the owner of the estate, and starting a secret romance. I don't know if she ends up finding her cousin or not, but haunted things also start happening to our main character in this mansion. And lastly, for this category, we have The House of Ash by Hope Cook. Now, this book is kind of like a back and forth between timelines. It's essentially about this boy whose dad suffers from schizophrenia, and him dealing with that and feeling as though he might have schizophrenia himself, ends up going to the woods and finding this burnt down house. Inside the house, he sees a mirror, and inside the mirror, he sees a girl. Now, this girl is trapped way, I'm not even gonna say trapped. Trapped is not even the right word. But this girl is actually hundreds of years in the past, and she is dealing with being confined in a labyrinth style mansion by her stepfather, who's trying to imprison her and her sister. And the young man has to help this girl escape before the house burns down and she is trapped inside that mirror forever. I love books like this that have multiple timelines going on and you have to kind of like put the pieces together yourself. I love a good mystery book just because it intrigues my mind. It helps my mind work. Like, my mind loves to try to figure out what's going on in the book before I even know. And I know that this book is right up my alley, especially because I have to figure out 2 different timelines. It may seem a little bit complicated, but it's a very short read, so it can't be that complicated. It will be definitely something that I can feel like I can just breeze through and enjoy the storyline. And it seems like our 2 main characters also develop some type of romance. So I don't know if old girl gets out of the mirror and comes to his time or what, but I need to find out. Alright, now last but not least, we have my romance category for this TBR. I consider this my fluff and filler books that I can pick up to kind of like just give me an easy read, an easy fun felt read after reading some of the kind of more gory or darker topics in a lot of these other books. And I just always need a good romance aspect that doesn't have to deal with like death, murder, and killing. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a good fun read. So the first one we have is Emergency Contact by Mary Kay Choi. I don't know a lot about this book. What I do know is a girl ends up bumping into a guy who kind of saves her from getting ran over. They exchange numbers and they started texting so much that they start to fall in love through text, even though never seeing each other again besides this first encounter. How do you fall in love over somebody over text? Like, you're not FaceTiming, y'all are not Skyping, y'all ain't even Uvu, y'all are texting, and you only saw this man once? Miss Girl, those better be some very good words. Some very good words. Alright, next up we have The Lucky One by Nicholas Sparks. I have almost every Nicholas Sparks books there is. If you watch my spring TBR, then you know that this is just one of the ones that I did not pick up in the spring season, so I'm giving it a chance. This basically follows a Marine who ends up finding a picture while he's serving for the country, and that picture ends up saving his life, as when he was shot, the picture ended up taking the bullet for him. So when he is released and he comes home, he goes to try to find the woman in the picture to not only give her picture back and, you know, kind of like tell her, I guess, whoever had her picture died in combat, but also, you know, in a way, thank her for saving his life. Well, when he finds her, he doesn't end up immediately telling her, and they end up falling in love. Now, I have seen the movie over and over and over. I've seen it a million times before. It's an amazing movie, but I would love to give this book a try because, once again, the book is always better than the movie. This last book is The Fortress by Danielle Trusanoni. Forgive me if I pronounce that wrong, please. I do know that this is a memoir following Miss Danielle, and I believe it's the story about how not only how her and her husband fell in love, but also her dealing with his death and that grieving process. So I don't know, I feel like it's gonna be a really sappy story, and I'm a sucker for sappy stories, especially because I have to first fall in love with the character and then deal with the death of that character. So I'm willing to give this book a try. This has also been on my TBR for a hot minute. A lot of these books have been on my TBR for a hot minute, and so we're just kind of trying to give them a read. that's all that I have for you guys as far as my fall reading TBR. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, please comment down below, what do you think your favorite book will be? If you have read any of these books that I mentioned, please comment down below your thoughts. If you haven't read any of the books that you mentioned and you have recommendations for what you think I would like, drop those down below too. Now, the books of the month are A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas and The Power by Naomi Elderman. These two books will be the books of the month for October. If you want to read these books along with me and everyone else in my book club, as well as share your thoughts, please head over to my Instagram and look for the highlight titled The Librarian. That is where my book related content is. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, don't forget to tell your mama, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your best friend, and everyone else in the whole entire world about my channel. And please be sure to pick up the phone the next time that I call. Bye!